Hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for this live Mountview Q&A session. My name is Alice and today we're going to be talking about Theatre Production Arts, or TPA for short. We'll be finding out about exactly what TPA involves, what part it plays within the theatre process and why you might want to consider it as a training or a career option. I'll be speaking to Helen Barratt, who's the head of stage management here at Mountview, and then later on we're also going to be speaking to some current TPA students about their experiences so far. But Helen, perhaps let's start with you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Now, firstly, for anyone who might not know, can you just tell us a little bit about what theatre production arts involves?
Sure. I think the amazing thing about theatre production arts is a lot of people don't know it exists, because everyone knows about people on stage who can be trained to be on stage and acting and singing. But there's so many careers backstage, so many very exciting and varied careers backstage. And those are the production arts. That's what we train people in. So we, particularly at Mountview, train people in lighting. Obviously, you need lots of very experienced and a lot of expertise in lighting and making everything look beautiful. You also need some fantastic sound effects, and also obviously all the actors need to be mic'd and sound amazing. And stage management as well, which is really organising everything backstage and making sure all the communication's going fine. But without all of the people backstage, then the shows wouldn't happen. And that's what's so great about working in theatre and being part of that.
And could you tell us a little bit about your own background and what your role involves?
Sure. I trained a little while ago, and after I trained at Bristol, I then went into working in all the Northern Reps. So I was in Sheffield and Manchester. Northern Reps, it's a repertory theatre that put on loads of different shows. So Sheffield, Manchester, Liverpool, Newcastle, all of those. And then I came down to London and I got to work on Saigon, Miss Saigon, the original production. And I got to cue the show, which meant that I got to say, helicopter go, and the helicopter went, which was very exciting.
I bet that's not something you get to say that often.
Not very often, but it's amazing. But all you have to say is helicopter go at the right time, whereas everybody else has to put all the hard work into actually making it happen. So, but that was a fantastic effect on an amazing show. I worked in the West End for a long time. I also did a lot of touring. I've toured nationally, I've toured internationally. It's a great way of seeing the world. I've been to India, I've been to Japan, I've been to all over Europe with the job. I also worked on the Olympics, which was amazing. And it's amazing how many transferable skills you get when you work backstage in theatre. I worked for bonkers things like secret cinema or the immersive things, which are really exciting. I worked at the National for 3 years. And really for the last 15 years before I joined Mountview, I was a company manager, a company stage manager, mostly on the West End.
And obviously you're working at Mountview, as you say. So can you tell us a bit about the sort of TPA courses that Mountview offers and what they involve?
Sure. So we've got 3 courses, as I mentioned. We've got a course that's got 3 different pathways, I should say, one of which is lighting, one of which is sound, and one of which is stage management. And so in the first term of the first year, then we teach everyone a little bit of everything, because we think it's really important that everyone knows every single thing you need to do backstage. So you'll learn about props making and scenic painting and carpentry, plus all of those things that I've mentioned already. And then in the second term, you're working on shows already. So we do 25 different shows a year at Mountview, which is a huge amount of shows. So everyone's got a really good opportunity to work on shows all the time when they're studying with us. And then by the time you get to the end of your first year, then you'd have worked on a show already, you'd have done lots of projects and ready to get into your next years. We do 3 different courses, one of which is the BA course, which is a 3-year course where you get your degree at the end of it. And for that, you need to have a couple of A-levels to get into that. We also do an FDA course, which is a 2-year course, and you don't need any qualifications to get into that at all, which means it's open to so many people who are just really practical, hands-on people and perhaps don't like the academic side of things so much. We also do a 1-year course, which is a diploma course, and that's for people who've already got either a lot of life experience behind them or they've already got a degree behind them as well. So those are the 3 different courses that we do.
And it sounds like it's definitely all for people who like the practical side, as you said, wants to be really hands-on and get in the deep end as soon as possible.
For sure, particularly at Mountview as well. I mean, lots of courses offer different sort of levels of academic work, but we really concentrate on the practical side of things. There is a little bit of academic work that you need to do, but the majority of it is all getting your hands dirty, whether it's on a project, whether it's on a show, or even the classes. We're giving you practical things to do and practical things to learn all the time.
And as you mentioned, you're not so much looking for academic qualifications in applicants. So what sort of things are you looking for when people are applying?
Really, we're just looking for people who are really keen, very enthusiastic, and really want to put the work into it. Obviously, it's lovely if you have got some previous experience. That's a bonus. But when we interview you, and we will interview everyone for free, we guarantee everybody an interview, then really we're just looking for somebody who we think would make a great person to work backstage, because we can teach them all the skills they need when they're with us at Mountview. So keen. We want to see keen people.
And if you've got someone who thinks they might potentially be interested in TPA, but they're thinking maybe they're not quite at the stage of looking to do training yet, but they maybe want to test it out and have a go, have you got any suggestions as to how people can maybe do that?
Sure. I mean, the most obvious thing, a lot of schools, not all of them, but a lot of schools have got drama departments. And it's not just, they don't want just people who want to be performing on stage. They can often cater to people who want to get involved backstage as well. And often there's little sort of theatre spaces in a lot of schools that have maybe got a lighting desk or a sound desk. And so it's a case of just throwing yourself in there and seeing if you enjoy it. There's often a physics teacher who might be able to help you with something, or just ask around and see who can help you with the backstage ideas. There's reading lists that we can recommend as well, where you can actually read up on stuff and find out how to do things. There's local youth groups everywhere that have got a big theatre thing about, and there's also the National Youth Theatre, there's the British Youth Musical Theatre. There's lots of different places to get involved, but also go to your local theatre, contact your local theatre, see if you can go and have a look around backstage, see if any of their technicians will come in and talk to you in the school, and just see if you can find out as much about it as you can. And now we're in this lockdown situation. It's an amazing opportunity to see so many free shows that are being streamed. The National are doing it, the Donmar are doing it, the Opera House, everyone you can think of is now streaming their shows for free. So just watching shows is a fantastic way of getting excited about them and thinking about all the things that are happening backstage to make those shows happen.
Thinking through all the connections and the actions that are happening, I suppose, that you can't see on the stage, but you know are happening behind the scenes, and how they're putting it together, I imagine.
Exactly. There's a whole machine of people backstage, and being part of that is a very exciting and rewarding thing to be part of.
Now, can you tell us a few about what some Mountview graduates in the past have gone on to do after they've graduated? We've obviously heard a bit about your career and the travelling that you've got to do and all the big events and things you've got to work on. What sort of other stuff can graduates expect from a career in TPA?
Well, it doesn't have to just be theatre. Obviously, film and TV are very open to you as well. And then you can go on cruises. A lot of people go on a cruise ship for a few years, see the world and put on shows on these big cruise ships as well. That's a fantastic lifestyle for a few years if you want to do that. All of the big festivals like Glastonbury and Latitude and all of those, they obviously need all the stage management and lighting and sound people to come and put those together. Any big rock concert, I mean, let's face it, Lady Gaga has got loads of lighting and sound people working for her, and stage management type people as well. So yeah, there's sort of, you know, there's think outside the box. As I said, I worked on the Olympics, and a lot of stage management, lighting and sound people went on to work on the Olympics. And then when they did that a few years ago, they're now working on the circuit of all the big sporting events that are going on all over the world. So again, that's another big opportunity open to you. So really think outside the box and think about what else you want to do apart from just work in theatre.
Amazing. Now, obviously, we are in lockdown at the moment, and in light of COVID-19, this has had a big impact on drama school teaching, and all Mountview lessons are being taught remotely at the moment. Can you tell us a bit about how that's working in terms of TPA, which is obviously such a really practical course? How are you teaching it remotely at the moment?
Yes, well, it's certainly been challenging, but we've risen to the challenge. So we're doing a lot of lessons on Zoom, like you're seeing now, and a lot of, particularly for more theoretical things like with stage management, we have to teach people how to do a prompt copy, which is what a deputy stage manager uses in rehearsals to write down everything that's going on in rehearsals and make sure that all the different departments know about them. And then also the prompt copy is how they cue the show when the show is actually happening. They're cueing all the lighting and the sound and all the people coming on and off and all the automation and flies and all of those things. We can teach people how to make their prompt copies and be a DSM very, very well actually over Zoom, because we can actually show them up close and personal exactly how they can make their prompt copies, and also give them an actor to follow around and do the blocking on Zoom as well. So we're making it as fun as possible, and it's actually working really well. We think there's probably quite a few lessons in the future that will end up on Zoom anyway. As for the practical projects, I know Alex at the moment is involved in a scenography project, which is again is a very practical thing, which is where it's about designing a set and designing a lighting design. But again, these are things that can be done working at home, using what you've got at home, but more importantly, working, collaborating with all your fellow students around you. When it comes to working on shows, we've made a virtual show that all of our students are working on the virtual show, and again, collaborating, having all the production meetings, having the rehearsals, which are us showing films of rehearsals that people are working on. And then we're actually going to run technical rehearsals and dress rehearsals in a virtual world as much as we can. So we are trying to replicate a lot, and I think people are getting a lot out of it. And also finding that if they're working on a virtual show, it's quite a safe environment to learn how to do something when we're actually doing it in reality. So I think although it's been a challenge, there's been a lot of plus points about virtual learning that we didn't know would be there, that we're discovering along the way. So it's been really, really good actually, and brought a lot of people together talking about all these things.
Sounds like a great team effort. Everyone's still working together, even though everyone's apart.
Certainly a team effort, and the students have been amazing getting involved with it as well. So that's been fantastic.
Now, you mentioned briefly from within stage management, you obviously a stage manager, but you also have an ASM and a DSM. For anyone who might not understand the difference between those, could you maybe go into a bit of detail about exactly what a DSM will do and an ASM and a stage manager?
Yeah, so I've mentioned a DSM already, so they're in rehearsals. I always used to think the DSM was the most exciting job you could do until I went on to stage manage. So the DSM is in rehearsals. They're the director's right-hand person, and they're also cueing the show, which means I call it ground control to Major Tom, but it's like flying a plane. You're actually cueing the show. You start it, you finish it, and you deal with everything that goes that happens in the meantime. If anything goes wrong, it's really up to the DSM to get it back on track. The ASM is the one who is getting all the props together. So during rehearsals is finding out what props needed for the show, getting all those props together, making all the lists. And then during the show, they're actually in the wings, making sure everyone goes on and off at the right time in the right place, the props are in the right place, and dealing with all the scene changes as well. So very hands-on and very part of the production. And a stage manager is sort of overseeing all of that, and also communicating with all the different departments to make sure that everyone's working together and working really well together. Everyone's got the right communication so that the show can go on as smoothly as possible. And also looking after all the performers and making sure that they're all happy and supported and confident. If you've got a confident performer on stage, they're going to do a better performance on stage, and they're going to be confident if they're supported, and that really is a stage management role.
And then finally, what would you say to someone who has been listening today and thinks that TPA might be for them? What would your advice be?
I would say give it a go. I would say look at our website. We have a lovely website, and obviously all the different drama academies have fantastic websites too. So have a look and find out as much as you can about it, and ask us questions. You can see my name's Helen Barratt on the screen just there. And so Helen Barratt at mountview.org.uk, you can send questions to me and I can pass them out to all the other people who might be able to answer those questions. And as I say, in lockdown, then just try and watch as many shows as possible and find out as much about it as possible. And then come and visit us, come and have an interview for free, come and visit us and decide whether it's something that you might enjoy and want to do.
Thanks so much, Helen. Now let's take a chance to talk to a couple of our current TPA students. So first up, we have Alex, who's a first year lighting student. Alex, you're currently in your first year studying lighting at Mountview. How's it been so far?
Yeah, I've been loving it so far, thank you. When you first get to Mountview, you kind of settle into the building. They let you know what's expected of you and things, and you do that with kind of like everyone else in your year, including all the different courses, so it's kind of nice to meet all those people. At first, it's quite a big shock learning how much there actually is to learn about theatre production, because a lot of it, as Helen said, people don't know about. But Mountview are really good at kind of easing you into it so you don't feel too much pressure, because everyone kind of starts at different levels, and they kind of cater to you accordingly. But yeah, so as Helen said, in the first sort of term, you learn all the basic skills with stage management, lighting, sound, props and scenic art and some basic carpentry stuff. But it's a very relaxed environment, so you don't feel pressured to kind of know all these things, because you're there to learn at the end of the day. And then learning them skills kind of prepare for shows after Christmas. So.
And when you come to doing the shows, do you find it's really been really useful to find about what other people will be doing and the other backstage careers and how it all fits together?
Yeah, it's definitely useful. When you first start the shows, it can be quite intimidating just how large the teams are if you're not used to working on kind of shows of that scale. And it really helps knowing what everybody's doing and what their role is, in case if you might need some specific information and you need to know who to go to get that information. And then also, so for my first show, I was operating the lighting desk on the show, so I needed to build a relationship with the DSM because she'll be queuing me. So I need to do that early and just little stuff like that. And learning all the different skills. Also, it might spark your interest in a different discipline. So I'm in the lighting course, but I actually did some sound on one of the shows, because Mountview just like, if you ask and say, oh, I want to do lighting on this show, they'll see what they can do about getting you into a role with lighting. I think one of the stage managers did a follow spot role on one of the musicals. So yeah, it's just good to learn kind of the general skills.
And what made you decide to study lighting in the first place? And what interested you?
I actually found it through performing. So I used to do kind of acting and all that sort of kind of thing. And the company I was acting with, they kind of recruited me as their technical help for one of the shows. And they just took a liking to me and started hiring me for all sorts after that. So that's how I kind of learned about it all.
So you were kind of dragged into it then?
I wasn't dragged into it, but I just didn't really understand that it existed. I think like a lot of people, you kind of focus on the show and not what's going on behind the scenes. But when I actually finally ended up doing it, it was just lighting that gave me kind of the most satisfaction from start to finish. So that's why I decided to pursue that as a career.
That's great. Thanks, Alex. Now let's, Shanice, let's speak to you. So Shanice, you're a second year stage management student. What experience did you have before you started at Mountview? As Alex said, he kind of started via the performer route.
So I started off in my secondary school. I was always helping out. I found that was my passion. I really liked helping out for basketball shows and basketball tournaments. And we was also a performing arts school. So we had shows going on. We had this thing called the Norwood Factor, which was our version of the X Factor. So I'd always be backstage, making sure that everyone went on stage on time and the right furniture was on stage. That's where I started, really.
Now you're in your second year of stage management. So what exactly is it about stage management that you're particularly enjoying? What is it that calls to you?
Well, I think it's the idea of being able to not control. That sounds really bad, but like being able to help the show become what it is and help facilitate it to be something spectacular that people enjoy. So that's what really made me want to like get into stage management.
And what sort of stuff have you been working on this year?
So at Mountview, my first show this year was Romeo and Julia in the main house. That was impeccable. It was really fun to do. I was the only assistant stage manager, so that was a heavy job, but I got through it, and it was, in the end, it was amazing.
And as part of the course, you do a lot of project work as part of the stage management course. So what sort of thing does that involve exactly?
It involves various projects that we do. So as Alex is doing now, we also did the scenography project last year where we got to design our own set and costume as well as design the lighting and sound for a play. So that was really fun to do, as well as we also did the applied arts project, which was a whole group collective project where we put on 3 Little Grimms, as we called it. It was a couple of storytelling like productions, and we did the lighting, the sound, the stage management for it, and we all had different roles, which Libby also worked on with me.
Great. Well, let's maybe speak to Libby next. So Libby is a second year sound student, and you've been working on shows since you started at Mountview. So how has that been, Libby?
Yeah, it's been really good. We started in lessons in the first term to get like a general knowledge on everyone and what everyone else does. And then in the second term, as Helen was saying, we started straight on shows, which I was very excited about. And it's just been really fun to progress up the levels from first year and then coming into second year. And as much as the projects are fun, I came to Mountview because of the number of shows they do, and just being able to work on so many has just been really great.
Have you had a favourite show that you've worked on so far?
I think Assassins was my favourite. I think because that was my first show that I mixed, and I think that's what I want to do when I graduate or in the future. So yeah, I think just because I mixed on it, it became my favourite show.
So are you finding that you're preferring the musicals at the moment? Or?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely want to go into musicals. There's just more sound on it because everyone's singing, so they need more microphones, and there's a band and they all need mic in as well. So it's just bigger on a musical than a play.
And what's been the biggest challenge that you've had over the last 2 years?
I think the growing responsibility. So in the first year, you're given the smaller roles that you feel not too responsible, that there's people above you that can help you, and if you make a mistake, they're there and they can help you out. But as you get bigger roles, the responsibility grows, and then if you make the mistake, there's no one really there to like pick up for you. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge so far. Like for Assassins, if I got that wrong, then it would have been my fault.
And what's been your favourite experience throughout your whole course?
There's been so many, but we get quite a lot of opportunities. So in my first year, I did some work placement at Bat Out of Hell at the Dominion, and then this year I've done another week's work experience at Harry Potter, and then from that I was trained to be adept. So then I managed to work there. So that adept means working there part-time, and they can call you in last minute if someone's been ill or if someone's gone on holiday, they can call you in. So I think that's been the best thing that's come out of Mountview for me, is being able to get that and do that as on side of working and doing the shows at Mountview.
And Helen, perhaps we can call on you to talk a bit more about the placement work that Mountview offers in terms of building up people's networking and contacts and things like that. Could you tell us a bit more about this element of the course?
Absolutely. I mean, the whole point about coming to Mountview is not just getting your fantastic qualifications, but also to make you as employable as possible. And that means being really, really versatile, but it also means having really good contacts in the industry outside. So we've got fantastic connections with places like the Globe and the National and the Young Vic and Hampstead and just so we're able to organise work experience for all the students, and we sort of drop it in. It's mainly in the third year, but if we get a really good opportunity from the people just contacting us and saying, can someone come and help out with Girl from the North Country or something like that, which we had recently, then we're able to just find a student and send them straight out to work alongside the professionals on jobs. And that's the best way of them learning and learning a professional standard, and also making these fantastic contacts with people who will employ them in the future. We've also, we do many shows, as we've mentioned, but we have lots of creative people who come in who are professionals from the industry, and also professionals working alongside the students. So, for example, the lighting designer will be a professional lighting designer, probably working with the students. And again, that's more contacts that they're making. Often the stage management students, if they're ASMing, assistant stage managers, they'll be working with professional stage manager. So again, more and more industry contacts. And it also gives people more confidence. The more people they meet, then the more confident they'll be about going out into the outside world. I know Shanice had a fantastic work experience time at the National on Three Sisters recently, which I think she's really
incredible.
Yeah, that was how did that go, Shanice? How was that for you?
Yeah, that was amazingly crazy. That was it was an experience for one. It was I learned a lot. I learned a lot from everyone that I was working with, from the director right down to the assistant stage managers. I was there for about, I think, 7 weeks. I was there throughout all of rehearsals, all of previews, and then my last day was press night. So it was crazy.
Literally through the whole process then. That's incredible, and you got to see it all and be a part of it.
Yeah, it was lovely to do, because I've also worked at the National Theatre when I did Pericles 2 years ago. That was the first production I ever did coming out of sixth form. It was 200 people on stage, all ages, from toddlers right the way through to elderly, and I learned so much, but I also learned how to keep calm. So that was a good trick.
Sounds like you like to set yourself a challenge.
I think that's just me in general. I love setting challenges for myself, even when they're impossible, but nothing's impossible.
Then to wrap up then, perhaps we talk about what plans you guys have got once you graduate. Alex, you're obviously just in your first year, but any thoughts so far about what area you might like to go into?
Well, I had a very loose kind of idea, but most professionals who come in and talk to you kind of say, you'll all have a plan, but it'll never go according to plan. You'll follow the work. People will offer you work and you'll take it, and that's kind of what you'll do. But I know that at this point, I'm focusing on programming, which is kind of using the lighting desk basically, and telling all the lights what to do, and working with the lighting designer to do that. And that's kind of what I want to focus on at this point. But like I said, I'm still in my first year, so I've still got time to decide.
Yeah, you've still got a bit of time. And Shanice, what about you? What would you like to end up in?
Hopefully some sort of live events. I really like to, as I said, set myself challenges. So I'd like to go into possibly working on wireless or big festivals, and then slowly, gradually getting back down, because I love setting myself challenges.
And Libby, obviously you're already working on Harry Potter at the moment. Is it something that you'd like to stay in, or are you thinking you'll go more musical side or something else entirely?
Yeah, definitely. When I graduate, I'd want to go into the West End, whether that is play or musical. I don't mind, but I want to. I'll hopefully start as a sound 3 or 4, which is like one of the lower roles, and then just work my way up, and hopefully eventually get to mix something in the West End would be my dream.
That sounds brilliant. Well, I think that's all we have time for today, unfortunately. Thank you so much to Helen, Alex, Libby and Shanice for taking the time to speak to us. And as Helen said, you can find out more about all of Mountviews courses at our website. That's mountview.org.uk, where you can also sign up for the newsletter to get more news straight to your email. And if you have any questions, do just drop us an email and get in touch. Thank you so much for watching, and we will hopefully see you again.